With the understanding of identifying whether the function is belonging to RL, RC or LC, let's continue the discussion further with the methods of doing the synthesis. So there are four methods as discussed in the start to do the network synthesis. What are the four techniques? The methods are Foster 1, Foster 2, Core 1 and Core 2 methods. So there are total 4 techniques of doing network synthesis, out of which we will now focus on one of the method, that is Core 1 method of doing network synthesis. So the point of discussion now is Core 1, which is also called as the ladder method of network synthesis. So Core 1 method is basically using continued fraction expansion method. Okay, we have just seen continued fraction expansion method when we discussed the Hurwitz criteria. We have used this already, continued fraction expansion method. We have already used this when we have done Hurwitz criteria, testing for Hurwitz criteria. So Core 1 method uses continued fraction method. Core 1 and Core 2 both are based on continued fraction expansion method. Foster 1 and Foster 2 both are based on partial fraction expansion method. Let that be known to you. Right, Core 1 and Core 2, both the methods, they use the continued fraction expansion method. Okay, and Foster 1, Foster 2 are based on partial fraction expansion method. So today's discussion we will limit to Core 1 method. So as discussed, Core 1 method uses continued fraction expansion method. In that, what we do first is we first of all arrange the numerator and denominator in the descending power of S. So given the network function, what we do is we arrange the numerator and denominator in the descending power of S, and then we apply the continued fraction expansion, right? Then we do the continued fraction expansion. Now there can be two possible cases when we do the continued fraction expansion. For the given, you could say transfer function. In the first case, it could be that the degree of the numerator is greater than of the denominator, or there could be another case in which the degree of numerator is less than the degree of the denominator. So what differs if such a case appears? What is the big difference that happens in the core implementation when the degree of the numerator is larger than the degree of the denominator? If the degree of the numerator is larger, then we have let us understand this with a system equation. Okay, let us take an example in which the degree of the numerator is larger than the degree of the denominator. So let me take the equation as shown here. Right, so this is an example wherein we observe that the degree of the numerator is larger than the degree of the denominator. So degree of the numerator is 3, the degree of the denominator is 2. So this fits into the case where we say degree of numerator is larger than the degree of denominator. So what do we observe here? When the degree of the numerator is larger than the degree of the denominator, definitely there is a 0 at origin, right? Or there is a pole at infinity. We say 0 at origin means a pole at infinity. So there is a 0 at the origin, right? So which element satisfies a 0 at origin? So definitely it is the inductor element which satisfies the condition of 0 at origin, because the inductor is defined with the mathematical analysis as Ls, right? Inductor has been defined as Ls, right? So definitely when we put S as 0, we get this term to be 0. Right, and therefore it must be the inductor which satisfies the condition of a 0 at origin. Therefore, when we realize the system function wherein the order of the numerator is larger than the denominator, it is always the inductor which is the first element. since there is a 0 at origin and it is the inductor which satisfies this condition, we always start the circuit or the network with an inductor as the first element followed by the capacitor. Right? So when we are realizing a transfer function wherein the numerator order is larger than the denominator, especially for LC functions, right? And if the numerator order is larger than the denominator, it is always the inductor which is the first element. Okay, and what happens if the degree of the numerator is less than the denominator? Right, let's just reverse the given function. Then we can say that it belongs to the second category. So let me write the transfer function as s square plus 1 divided by s into s square plus 9. Right, so this is the system function which satisfies the condition of degree of the numerator is less than the degree of denominator. So here the numerator degree is 2, and what is the denominator degree is 3, right? So degree of the numerator is smaller than the degree of the denominator, and because of which what we see, there is a pole at origin, right? So there is a pole at origin. Pole at origin is nothing but a 0 at infinity, right? So there is a pole at origin, and a pole at origin, such a condition is satisfied by a capacitor. Capacitive nature gives us the characteristics of pole at origin, and therefore if we have a system which is given by an equation as shown wherein the numerator degree is less than the denominator degree, it is always the capacitive element as the first element followed by the inductive element. So it is the capacitor followed by inductor in case of an LC function realization, if the degree of the numerator is smaller than the degree of the denominator. So let us understand these characteristics with examples. So here is the first example wherein you have been asked to form the realization. It means that realization means we are expected to do the synthesis. We are expected to obtain the circuit for the given transfer function using the COR1 form. So we are going to apply COR1 form. We are going to do mathematical analysis using COR1 form for the given impedance driving function, and we are going to obtain the circuit that describes this function, right? We are now going to obtain the circuit that describes this function. The question itself has identified us that this is an LC function. So the circuit that we are going to obtain that satisfies this system function must be having only L and C components in it. So let us apply the COR1 form and perform the continued fraction expansion. Core forms are all using continued fraction expansion. So let us perform the continued fraction expansion. What we know in a continued fraction expansion, the very first important thing is that the order of the numerator should be larger than the order of the denominator, and that is true for the given system. That's why we did not have to do any adjustment, simply start to divide it because the numerator is having higher order than the denominator. Let us do the first step in continued fraction expansion by dividing the numerator by denominator. So we have done the division here, and the first quotient that we obtain is a value of 5s. So with this, we have done the first step of division where we have divided this and obtained the result as 5 of s. Now this is a continued fraction expansion method in which we go on dividing until we reach to a value of 0 remainder. Since it's not a 0 remainder, we need to continue the division. How do we now divide is we take these two elements further for division, out of whichever is the higher order becomes the numerator, the lower order becomes the denominator. So we further continue the division of these two elements, these two terms from the equations, and in the next step we have further divided and obtained the next term of division to be s. Since the denominator is not, then the remainder here is still not 0, we need to continue the division further. So you could see here the next step of division is performed using these two elements. 2s square plus 1 is divided by s in the next step, and the quotient which is obtained is 2s. As the remainder is still not 0, we need to continue the division, and there is one more step of division performed. We are dividing s by 1, and here we obtain the remainder as 0. Once we obtain the remainder as 0, here is where we stop the division process. And now we need to analyze all the quotients that we have obtained. Right, so what is the quotients that are obtained? The quotient for the first division is 5s, for the second it is s, the third is 2s, and the fourth is s again. So looking at the quotients, we are now going to formulate the circuit for the given transfer function, for the given driving point impedance. So for that we need to look at one more characteristics of the core. One more important characteristics of the core is this particular characteristics. Whenever we divide the driving point impedance, the first element which is obtained by division is the series impedance. The second is always the shunt admittance. The third is again the series impedance. The fourth is the shunt, and so on. So what we obtain after division is series and shunt impedances. Right? So keeping this in mind, what we now understand is when we have performed the division here, the first element that we have obtained after division, right, the first element that we have obtained after division here is 5s. So this 5s is nothing but the impedance element. Okay, the second is the shunt element, okay, admittance element, therefore it will go in the shunt. When we draw in the circuit, this will go in the shunt path. This is again the series, and this is again the shunt element, so this is also important. Now the thing is, we know that this belongs to an LC, right? Whatever we have, whatever circuit we are going to draw is going to have L and C components. The important issue that raises here is whether the first element is an L or a C. So if you remember the previous discussion, we discussed that if the order of the numerator is larger than the denominator, always the first element is the inductor. So here we satisfy the condition that the numerator order is greater than the denominator, and therefore the first element is the inductor. Second element is the capacitor. The third element is inductor, and the fourth element is capacitor again. So we have identified two inductive elements and two capacitive elements to draw the circuit, to draw the network. The first element is the inductor of value 5. The second element is a capacitor of value 1. The third element is inductor again with a value of 2, and the fourth element is capacitor with a value of 1. Now, recalling the previous discussion, the first element is impedance, the second is admittance, the third is impedance, and it is admittance. So, impedance and admittance are alternating in the core method. Impedance element means it is the series element. Admittance element means it is to be put in the shunt or in the parallel path. So, with this information, here is the circuit as shown. So this complete circuit is as shown looking at what we have discussed. So the first element was inductor element. It is the impedance element. So you could see here it is put in the series. So we have an inductor of 5 Henry put in series. The second element is a capacitor, right, and it is an admittance element. If it is an admittance element, it has to appear in the shunt path or in the parallel path. So if you see here, we have the second element of the circuit, which is a capacitor put in parallel, in the parallel path. Again, the third element is an inductor. It is an impedance element. It should appear in series. The fourth element is an admittance, which should appear in a parallel path. which is a capacitor of value 1 farad. So you could see here from the elements that we identified, we have obtained the network for the given system using core 1 method. If the same thing is implemented in core 2, right, the network differs. And that's the reason why we said at the beginning that network synthesis does not give us a single solution. If you change the method, we are going to obtain a different solution, a different network, right? So for this particular network, for this particular function, using core 1 method, performing continued fraction expansion, identifying the quotients, right, and identifying the elements for the quotients, we have drawn the circuit for the given transfer function. So, understanding the problem, we started with a transfer function. So, you could see here, we started with a driving point impedance of a one port network. With the equation of a driving point impedance, applying core method, we have actually obtained the circuit for this particular driving point impedance. This is called as network synthesis, wherein from the transfer function, from the driving point impedance, we are able to identify the circuit. So this is the circuit which satisfies the given impedance function. Let us move to another example. The problem is realize the following network using core 1 technique. We have been given a transfer function and we have been told to draw the core 1 form. Now in the given question, we have not been identified which transfer function this particular system belongs to, whether it's defining an RL, whether it is defining RC, or whether it is defining LC. But we can look at the transfer function and identify which function it belongs to. If we look at the order of the system, there is a difference in the order of the system. The order of the systems differ by 1. The numerator is at a lower order than the denominator. If there is a difference in the order of the system by 1, we know the properties of RL, RC and LC, that if the transfer functions differ by order of 1, they belong to an LC system. Right, this function therefore is defining an LC function. It means when we are now going to draw the circuit or the network for this particular driving point impedance Z of S given to us, it is going to be comprising of L and C elements. It will be comprising of L and C elements. So we have identified which transfer function this particular given system is pointing to. So this belongs to LC function. Now, what is the very first thing we need to do is arrange the polynomials in descending power of S. So, it's already in the descending power of S, right? But what do we observe? We observe that the numerator is at a lower order than the denominator. We cannot divide the numerator by the denominator here because the denominator is at a higher order than the numerator, and hence we will take a reciprocal of the given impedance. So Z of S becomes 1 upon Z of S, which is nothing but admittance function. It means that we are going to have the realization of the given system instead of from the impedance, we are going to take the admittance function, because when we take the reciprocal, now we have a system wherein the numerator order is at a higher order than the denominator. With this we can perform the continued fraction expansion. So with this correct transfer function, admittance transfer function, we will perform the continued fraction expansion. So we will divide the numerator by denominator. The first step of division gives us a quotient of S by 6. Since the remainder is not 0, we continue to perform the division of these two elements. We will now divide this term by 11s cube plus 40s. We continue the division, and in the next step we have obtained the quotient as 611 by s. Right? Again, we observe that the remainder is not 0. If the remainder is not 0, we continue to perform the division. That's the reason why we call it to be continued fraction expansion. So we will divide 11s cube plus 40s by this particular term. So third step of division is performed. We observe that in the third step of division, the quotient is having a value of 121s by 222, which results into a remainder which is again a non-zero remainder. Since it is not zero, we need to continue to perform division further. We have done the fourth step of division. In the fourth step of division, we have divided this term by this, which results into a quotient as shown here. But the remainder is still not zero, which further initiates the division, and in the fifth step of division you could see that the remainder is 0. Once we obtain the remainder to be 0, it is now the time to stop the division and analyze the quotients that we have obtained. So let us look at the quotient. What are the different quotients we have obtained, the results of each step of division. In the first step of division, the quotient obtained is s of x by 6. In the next step, it is 611s. Then it is 121s by 222. Then it is 12321 s divided by 8448, and the last step it is 332s by 111. So these are the different quotients which we have obtained. Now it is the time to analyze the components. Which are the components these particular quotients are pointing to? So we know that in the previous discussion we know that if the numerator is of a lower degree than the denominator, then the first element is nothing but the capacitor. If the numerator is at a lower order than the denominator, then the first element is always the capacitor. So with this we identify that the first element is capacitor, then it is the inductor, it is capacitor, followed by inductor, and so on. So this way you could see we have identified the elements. So the first element is the capacitor, then it is the inductor, the capacitor, inductor, and the capacitor. So we have identified the elements to which these quotients are belonging. Now the next step is whether it is a shunt element or a series element. So friends, as we have realized y of s, we have realized, or we have could say simplified an admittance parameter. The first element becomes the admittance parameter. If you are realizing z of s, if you have done continued fraction expansion of z of s, it means that the first element will be the z element. Therefore it is a series element. But here, as we are realizing, we are performing continued fraction expansion of admittance parameter, the first element is admittance element, and hence it is a shunt element. Then after which is impedance, then admittance, then impedance, and so on. What is essential is to identify whether the first element is an admittance element or an impedance element. So how do you do that? You do that by looking at which equation you have implemented. Since here you have implemented admittance equation, it means that the first element is admittance element, indicating that it should be placed in the shunt. It means that this capacitor value must be placed in the shunt, and therefore what is the capacitor value here? 1 by 6. When I now draw the circuit, we start with a capacitor. You see, we start with a capacitor which is a shunt element, because the first element belongs to admittance. Admittance means we have to put that element in the shunt or in the parallel. So the first element is the capacitor. After capacitor, what follows is the impedance element. And what is the value of the impedance here? So the second element is the impedance element, which is a series element whose value is 6 by 11. Right? What is the value we have taken here? Is 6 by 11. So the next value is 6 by 11. The third is again the shunt element. It's a capacitor element, which is a shunt element. Right? So this comes in the parallel. 121 by 222 is the value of the capacitor. Next is again the inductor value. If you divide this, you get a value of 1.548. So this is the next series element. And the last element is the capacitor, which appears in the shunt with the value 32 by 111. So in this way, friends, we have realized the circuit for the given transfer function. Moving to the third example, we have been asked to form the core 1 realization from the given impedance function. So we have not been mentioned in the problem whether this function belongs to RL, RC or LC, and hence it is essential for us to identify to which of the function this particular given system belongs to. So for that we'll analyze the poles and zeros. So we observe when we plot the poles and zeros, we observe that all these poles and zeros are lying on the negative x-axis, and the one which is closer to origin is the pole, because here the pole value is 0. So here the pole is the one which is closest to origin, and therefore this function belongs to RC function. You could see here this particular function belongs to RC function. So once we identify the function, now we'll apply the core technique. What is the core technique? This technique is to perform continued fraction expansion. After identifying the function and after performing continued fraction expansion, we understand that all the elements in this particular impedance function will have either R or C. There is not going to be any inductive element in this function because this function belongs to an RC function. So this analysis is very, very important before we perform the continued fraction expansion. Identify to which category this particular function belongs to. Once you identify the category, then you start with the mathematics which is behind, which is the continued fraction expansion. So we'll perform for the continued fraction expansion, we need to check whether the numerator is at a higher order than the denominator. So what we observe here, both the numerator and denominator are at the same order. So right now we observe that there is no need to rearrange the function. We can start with the division. So the first step of division gives us a quotient of value 1. In the next step of division, when we perform the further division, dividing this element by this, the second value which is obtained is 1 by 2s. Since the remainder is not 0, we continue to perform the division in the third step. In the third step, we see that dividing 1 by 2s by 3 by 1 by 2s gives us a remainder of 4, gives us a quotient of 4. Since the remainder is not 0, we continue the division, and in the fourth step you see we have obtained a remainder of 0. Analyzing all the quotients together, we observe that the first element is the resistive element of value 1. Since this is the impedance element we are we are implementing an impedance parameter. This value is a series element, followed by shunt, which is the capacitive element, then followed by series, which is again a resistive element, and then followed by shunt, which is the capacitive element. So the four elements that we have identified that describes this particular system is two R elements and two C capacitive elements. So with those values that we have obtained, the circuit is as shown. The first resistive element is of 1 ohms. Then we obtain the capacitive value of 1 by 2, which is the shunt element. Then the third element is the resistive elements of 4 ohm. And the fourth element, which is the capacitive element, is a value of 1 by 6 farad. So you could see here, this is the circuit that describes the given function. Moving to the next example. Here is the next example. We have been asked to perform the realization using COR1 form. The circuit to which this belongs, the function to which this belongs is not mentioned. So let us analyze the poles and zeros of the system. So analyzing the poles and zeros of the system, we identify that the poles and zeros are lying on the negative real axis. So these poles and zeros which are lying on the negative real axis either describes RL or RC. Further, the pole or the zero which is closest to the origin here is identified to be the pole. It is the pole which is closest to the origin from the pole zero plot, and therefore we say that this is belonging to an RC function. So this particular system belongs to RC. So when we will draw the circuit for this particular function, that particular circuit will only comprise of R and C elements. So let us start with the division. So performing the division, what we observe is that the degree of the denominator is higher than the degree of the numerator. We cannot divide a function wherein the denominator is at a higher order than the numerator, and therefore what we need to do here is take the reciprocal of the system. The reciprocal of the impedance becomes the admittance functions. So we need to realize now the admittance function. We cannot realize the impedance function because the degree of the denominator is higher than the numerator. Therefore we need to take the reciprocal and then perform the division. So we are now realizing the impedance function. This is very important, that we should be aware of what function are we going to realize. So we are realizing the impedance function. So we'll now apply the continued fraction expansion and dividing the first, performing the first continued fraction expansion. The quotient is obtained is S. The remainder is obtained as shown here. Since the remainder is not zero, we continue to perform the division. So we now divide 4s plus 12. We divide s plus 4 by 4s plus 12. In the second step of division, we obtain the quotient as 1 by 4, but the remainder is still not 0. We continue to perform the division, and in the fourth step of division as seen here, we have obtained the remainder to be 0. Once we obtain the remainder to be 0, we have completed the division. Now it is the time for us to identify the elements. The element definitely with a parameter S must be a capacitive element. Element, the term with absence of S must be a resistive element, right? So definitely here the presence of S indicates it's a capacitive element, absence of S indicates a resistive element. So this is the way you identify the element to which these quotients belong to. The next important thing before we draw the circuit is whether the element should appear in series or whether it should appear in a parallel or a shunt in the circuit. So for that, look at what are we realizing. We are realizing an admittance parameter. So if we are realizing an admittance parameter, the first element becomes an admittance element. It means that this element is the first element that appears in parallel. So we start our circuit with capacitive as the first element, and that capacitor is appearing in shunt, in parallel, because we are realizing an admittance element. After which is the resistive element of value 1 by 4, which is admittance element, which should appear in series. So you could see here the next element is the resistive element whose value is 1 by 4. The third element is now again the admittance element, which is the capacitive element which appears in shunt. And the fourth element is the resistive element, which is the impedance element that appears in series. So this is the way we have obtained the circuit for the given transfer function. Moving to the last example, we have been given a system and we have been told to perform the COR1 realization of the system. As discussed, it is essential for us to identify the function to which the given driving point impedance belongs to. So let us plot the poles and zeros of the system. By plotting the poles and zeros of the zeros of the system are -1, -3, poles of the system are -2 and -6. We observe that all the poles and zeros are on the negative real axis. All the poles and zeros are on the negative real axis. So therefore, this function either belongs to RL or RC. To identify whether it is RL or RC, we need to identify the critical frequency which is closest to the origin. So we see that the critical frequency which is closest to origin is the 0. The 0 at a value of -1 is the one which is closest to the origin. And therefore, if it is a 0 which is closest to the origin, it must be an RL function. So we identify that this is a RL function. The system which is given to us belongs to a RL function. We'll now apply the continued fraction expansion. We will check whether the system is having a higher order in the numerator than the denominator so that we can perform the division. We observe that both the numerator and denominator are at the same order and we need not do any rearrangement. We can continue the division here. So we have done the first step of division. So the first step of division has resulted into a quotient of 2, but there is a remainder wherein we have obtained a negative value in the denominator, in the remainder. And if we continue to perform this division, we are not satisfying the requirement of positive real function, because this is not a positive real function, because we should have all the coefficients in the positive real functions to be positive. But what we observe is that this is not giving us a positive real function. Therefore, we need to do a kind of rearrangement here. Since the order of both the numerator and denominator are equal, right, we can take the reciprocal of this, because if we continue to take the division for the impedance function, we observe that we obtain negative values which are not acceptable for realization, for synthesis. And hence, to overcome this, what we do is we perform the reciprocal of this. We instead carry out the continued fraction expansion by implementing the admittance function. So what do we do here, friends, is we take the reciprocal of the impedance function and now we carry out the continued fraction expansion of the admittance function. So here you could see we have taken the reciprocal and we are now performing the division of the admittance function, and which has resulted into a positive remainder. So the problem which has arisen earlier is overcome by implementing the admittance function. So the first quotient is 1 by 2. Since the remainder is not 0, we have continued the division process further, and you observe that in the fifth step of division here, we have obtained a 0 remainder. So after doing 5 steps of continued fraction expansion, we have obtained the 0 remainder. Now it is the time to identify the elements of the quotient. So since it is an RL circuit, the quotient, if the quotient has no S value, it means that it must be pointing to a resistive element. If the quotient has an S element, then it must be inductive element. Here there is no S element, it's a resistive element. This term has a S element present, so it is an inductive element. This term has no S element, it is a resistive element. So this is the way in the next step we have identified what are the elements of each of the quotient. Now, before we draw the circuit, we need to identify one more thing, that is whether these elements are series elements or shunt elements. So friends, for that if we recall, we have implemented an admittance parameter. We have performed continued fraction expansion of admittance element, and therefore first element, if it is an admittance element, admittance function, the first element must be an additive element. So this is the element which is additive. If it is an additive element, then it must be a shunt element. So this is shunt, this is a series element, this is the shunt, the next is series, and therefore you could see that we have started. The first element is the shunt element. You could see the resistance is put in shunt. So if we look in the circuit, you could see that we have started with the resistive element, and the first element which we have put in shunt is the resistive element, followed by inductor, then the resistance, followed by the inductor. You could see here the inductive elements, and then the resistive element. Since it's a shunt element, we need to take the resistance becomes conductance, and therefore we need to take the reciprocal of this. We need to take the reciprocal because resistance becomes conductance when we put it in the shunt. Right, so you could see here even with the first element was having a value of 1 by 2. So when we have put this 1 by 2 in the shunt, it has become conductance with a value of 2. We need to take the reciprocal. So you could see here we have taken it as 2. So this is the circuit for the given system.